Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Cascade Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Lynn Madsen, and Ben Connect and I will be leading our worship service this morning. Whoever you are, however you have arrived here, you are welcome. We know that people come to sacred spaces for many different reasons: for comfort, community, in search of meaning or solace, in joy or grief or pain. Whatever your reason for being here today, be welcome. We will continue our communion with coffee and conversation after the service, including for those folks on Zoom. For you Zoomies, the order of service and song lyrics will be in the chat. And now, if you would please turn and face the cameras and wave to all those folks on Zoom, let them know you're here. And then take a couple of minutes to say hi to some folks, hopefully some people you haven't seen or met before. We have a couple of announcements this morning. Owen, if you would come let us know what's going on.
Okay, what do I have here? Okay, we are going camping. I'd like to join me and our beloved community for a weekend of fun, fresh air, and friendship. This will be happening this month, August 22nd through the 24th. This is going to be at Squilchuck State Park on Mission Ridge Road, just outside of Wenatchee here. Everyone is invited. There will be a potluck on Friday night, so please remember to bring what you can. On Saturday night, hamburgers and hot dogs will be provided. We're also looking for some more light potluck items on Saturday night. Breakfasts will be provided continental style. You should provide your own brown bag lunch on Saturday, as well as extra snacks and drinks for the weekend. We'll have some games, music, light activity, plenty of relaxation, and meaningful connection. I encourage you all to come. You're all welcome, whether you're coming up to camp the whole weekend, or if you just want to come up for perhaps a day or an evening. There will be a sign-up sheet in the back, so we can get a general idea of how many people are coming. There will also be a couple of volunteer slots on that sign-up sheet. The second announcement is the Cuff Jewelry Sale is scheduled for the weekend of September 19th. I believe that's the 17th, 18th, and 19th. Details will follow on times, dates, etc., and volunteering. But right now, we're looking for jewelry donations. If you have items, please place them in the white bin, which is in Petra's office, or deliver them to Heather Seaman directly. We need to make this another successful fundraiser. Thank you.
I have some baseball tickets for tonight. So I have 2 cards with 4 tickets on each of them. If anybody would like 4 tickets to the Apple Sox game, it's at 5:35. Just ask me now. Give me the card.
Thank you. We are gathered today on the traditional homeland of the Pasquosa, who, like most other First Nations, lost their land and much of their way of life due to the colonial policies of the U.S. and European governments. We acknowledge the living cultures, stories, and sovereignty of Indigenous peoples, past, present, and future. May we move forward with humility, respect, and a commitment to learning and unlearning in support of Indigenous voices and rights. I have a quote this morning from Chief Joseph. "We do not want churches because they will teach us to quarrel about God. We do not want to learn that. We may quarrel with men sometimes about things on this earth, but we never quarrel about the Great Spirit. We do not want to learn that." And now, let us rise in body and spirit to sing our opening song, Life Calls Us On. Today, we will be talking about God. For those of you who have had bad experiences with organized religion, please understand, we will not be talking about belief or faith or the right or wrong of God. We will be talking about the evolution of God as a construct. All humans, all cultures develop a mythology, a way to talk about the divine. And being human, and therefore social creatures, almost all of these mythologies have a personified version of the divine, a god or gods, if you will. Someone with whom we can talk about the unexplainable. Someone to help us understand why things are the way they are. Someone to talk to when people just aren't enough. Okay. But our mythology must be able to evolve as the knowledge and the culture evolve. Otherwise, we risk becoming alienated from our mythology and potentially from its power to connect us with the divine. We are here today to share sacred space. Come, let us worship together. The chalice and flame symbolize our congregation gathered in principles and faith. If you at home have your own chalice with you, please join me now in lighting it. Here in the sanctuary, we will speak these lighting words in unison. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and the divine. Okay. I have a story this morning, and I'm trying to decide where to do it from, because it requires a lot of help. This is a story about how Rabbit discovered about God. Rabbit had heard a lot about God and did not understand it at all. This did not make any sense. And so he decided that one day he would go out and he would ask all his friends what they knew about God. Everyone that he met, he would talk to them. His first friend was the dragonfly. Dragonfly, I have heard of this thing called God. Can you tell me what you know of God? Oh, the dragonfly said, I believe God is the wind. God is the air that moves. God is the air that supports me and also keeps all those other nice insects in the air so I can catch them. Oh, okay. Thank you. The next friend that Rabbit encountered was the fish. He came to the stream, and because this is that kind of story, he stuck his head under the water and talked to the fish. Fish, could you help me understand this thing called God? I really do not understand it. And fish said, I think that God is the water. The water, it's so cool, it's so beautiful. Everyone needs water. Oh, it makes me feel so buoyant and light. It protects me. I'm sure that God is the water. Thank you. Next. He came to Bear. Bear, help me understand this thing called God. Well, I think God must be the forest. The forest. Yes, the forest. The forest provides me with lots of trees to scratch my back against and dead trees to find grubs and ants in. Keeps everything nice and cool and shady. Yes, I think God must be the forest. Oh, thank you very much. And finally, Rabbit found his friend Possum. Possum said, "Well, what have you learned today about God?" Rabbit said, "Well, the dragonfly thinks that God is the air, and the fish thinks that God is the water, and the bear thinks it's the forest. These are all my friends and I trust them. I think they can't be wrong. But this makes me wonder, can God really be a thing? I think it must be that God is in everything." The end. Hey. Now, we can sing Our Child to the class. If those of you on the side would form an arch with your hands. Good morning. Now go with each other to find meaning in the spirit of love that you share. Now go with each other to find meaning in the spirit of love that you share.
For your wisdom reading, I'm using a paragraph from Time Magazine article, God is Dead. I'm going to refer to that in my talk so you get a sense of what that article was about. Christianity, by imposing its faith on the art of politics and even economics of a culture, unconsciously made God part of that culture. And when the world changed, belief in this God was undermined. Now, God has disappeared because of the image of him that the church used for many, many years. The image that the church gave God was that of a wonder worker, explained all the world's stories and mysteries, and seemed to have somewhat more interest in punishing man than rewarding him. Life was a vale of tears, said the churchmen. Men were urged to shun the pleasures of life if they would serve God, and to avoid any false step or suffer everlasting punishment in hell. It did little to establish the credibility of this God that medieval theologians categorized his qualities as confidently as they spelled out differing kinds of sin, and that the churchmen spoke about him as if they just finished having lunch with him.
We have reached the time of tender reverence in our service when we have the opportunity to share from our heart events that have touched us in a deep personal way. Our custom is to share only those things that we have permission to share, to respect the time by being brief, and to listen with love and compassion. This is an opportunity to open our hearts to each other and to get to know each other in a deeper way. If there's something you wish to share, be it joy, sorrow, hope, or heartache, come forward, say your name, say what you would like to, and place a stone in the bowl. Nice breath. And just spend a moment in silence.
Well, you just had the fun of hearing Rabbit talk about his gods. Now you're going to have the fun, and I have the fun of sharing to you about some of my thoughts about God. I want to expose you to some of the various ideas that I have about God that I've chosen to work out on during my lifetime. My journey is uniquely mine, and I hope my journey will somewhat enrich your concepts or ideas about God or about having no God. Now, you've heard from me in the past that when I joined the Unitarian Church in Iowa City, when I was a sophomore in medical school in 1962. That shift was sparked by my learning about how the body works and how my Methodist beliefs did not fit with this new knowledge that I had. Now, this Unitarian church in Iowa City didn't have any God talk. Not any of the current code words were ever used, such as higher power, spirit, mystery, force, awe. Humanism in that church was the dominant theology. This break from Christianity gave me a time and a place to realize that I had some things to do to ponder about God. So the so-called culture of the 60s was a great chance to move into this existential thinking. The two publications that got me reading was Time Magazine's God is Dead article, which much of America read, and this book, Honest to God, by Bishop John Robinson. It sold over 1 million copies. The messages these two publications contained got me and others thinking about God. When the question, God is dead, appeared on the cover of Time magazine on Good Friday, 1966, it was a cultural sign that the cultural ferment of the 60s and that decade had finally come to the Christian church. It inspired 3,500 letters from its readers. Time had a worldwide circulation of 5 million. This journal reintroduced me to Friedrich Nietzsche's thinking, which was the focus of the article. This German philosopher declared in 1882 in his publication, God is Dead. He stated that because belief in the Christian God has become unbelievable, everything that was built on this faith, propped up by it, grown into it, including the whole of our European morality, is destined for collapse. This collapse of belief in the Christian God means our culture no longer has a source of meaning, morality, or truth. Now, this thinking about God by Nietzsche is part of the aftermath of the Enlightenment, a time in which science, math, philosophy arose to displace Christianity as the guiding author or authority of truth about life and the universe. The Christian teaching about a creator outside time and space, and that we should abide by the rules of this creator to ensure a good afterlife, were defunct. In addition to the scientific revolution, national politics were also changing. The divine right of kings led to the separation of church and state and pulled that authoritative rug from underneath Christianity's. People's belief more and more were based on empirical evidence and human reasoning, which replaced that faith required to be a Christian. Through this intellectual evolution, we humans had killed God. Well, now what? Nietzsche, the philosopher, thought that our culture would slip into meaningless apathy and despair. Then along came Honest to God. This is a very short, 141-page, pretty big print, and was very readable. Theologic counter-move did not deny the death of God, but reimagined what God could mean in a secular age. So if the culture of God had collapsed, Robinson asked, can we speak meaningfully of the divine? Now, John Robinson was a bishop in the Anglican Church. He was influenced by Paul Tillich's concept of ground of being. This concept argues that God is not up there or out there, but the depth and foundation of existence itself. Another way to try and understand this ground of being is the idea that God is not a person or an entity in the usual sense. God is the source, the depth, or the condition of all that exists. Everything that is participates in being, and God is the ground that makes this possible. God is the depth dimension of life, the mystery behind love, courage, creativity, and meaning. When we experience awe, despair, unconditional love, we're touching the ground of being. Now, it's still tough for me, and I remain open to other further attempts to help me understand Paul Tillich's ground of being. So Robinson concludes, by not denying Christ's divinity, but reinterpreting it. Jesus is not God in disguise, but the human transparency of divine love. The moral ground that was lost from not having God up in heaven is where love is the only absolute. Christ's radical love serves our moral ground. Now, my journey with God has me delighted that that big white bearded father figure of God of Christianity up there in heaven is dead. Anyway, this God made no sense to me. So Nietzsche mourns the collapse, Robinson reimagines the divine ground, and then I met Bob Brzee in Wenatchee. Through his teaching, I discovered a third possibility, one that doesn't just reinterpret God, but repositions God within the flow of reality itself. This is Whitehead's process God. So I want to explore the process God a bit with you. It's a revolutionary reimagining of divinity as a dynamic, relational, and deeply present concept. First, the radical premise. Reality consists of processes rather than material objects, and that processes are best defined by their relations with other processes. Reality is not static, but are events that Whitehead calls moments or occasions of experience. These occasions of experience are moments of God's interaction, constantly becoming, but never fixed. From atoms to rocks, from you and me to the stars, everything participates in this process. Nothing's fixed, all is becoming. Change, creativity, and novelty are fundamental to this change. They don't occur by accident. For example, up here is this human named Ben. But as you look at me now, a second later, my hair will change, some cells will fluff off. I may have engaged you in a relationship with eye contact. The sun moved, the wind changed, and all of these things in the universe, or this web, are changing. But they're interrelated experiences or occasions of experience. Second, God is involved in the occasion of experience. Whitehead God holds all the possibilities that can unfold and provides the most positive aim for each occasion. And these aims are positive and they lure us toward beauty, harmony, and intensity. Now, what is unique about this idea of God is that God is experiencing this world or the cosmos moment by moment. God feels every event, takes it in, holds the joy or the sorrow of each divine experience. Process God is not this unmoved mover or imperial ruler, but a fellow sufferer who understands. Nothing that occurs in the universe is lost. All is taken up in God's experience. This grants all occasions a kind of immortality. This input from every occasion of experience makes God relationally responsive, and thus God is evolving or changing for the next occasion. The only immortality we enjoy comes from the transient value our occasions of experience as it passes into this eternal life of God. The third freeing concept is this idea of God is process theology's rejection of omnipotence in the classical sense. God does not use this coercive power or force to deal with the world. The divine has supreme persuasive power and is always influencing or persuading us to choose the good. On each occasion of experience, God offers these possibilities, but we creatures can choose to respond or not. This preserves freedom and creativity in the universe. Where is the process, God? Now here's a new word for most of you. Process theology embraces panentheism, pan-en-theism. The idea that the world is in God and that God is more than the world. Buddhism and Hinduism have contain elements of panentheism. This vision of God isn't about some distant ruler. It's about a divine presence in the world, yet greater than the world. This is panentheism. The world and God are deeply interconnected, with every experience felt and contained in God, contributing to the divine creation toward beauty, connection, and change. The world and God are not identical, but are in relation together. Many of us grew up with the classical theism God, who is separate from the world. There's the creator and the creation, and they're distinct. The process God is in co-creation, not a dictator. Now, there's a whole bunch more to explore with process theology, but I don't want to lose you in these metaphysical weeds. Instead, let me show how it plays out in real life, using myself as an example interacting with the nurse in post-op care. Imagine, if you can, that I have an occasion committee in my mind that weighs every decision and response I make. Now, who are the dominant voices on my occasion committee? Well, of course, there's my past experiences. What I've done before, I'm going to do again, I'm going to do again. And then there are the very strong my 4 Myers-Briggs personality types, ISTJs, orderly, guarded, logical, cautious. They've guided me for years, especially in my professional interactions. Take, for instance, interacting with a nurse in post-op care. Now, back in the 60s, when I trained, nurses stood when doctors entered the room. That ingrained this subtle hierarchy, one I've sort of had to unlearn. My dominant personality committee members often pull me toward control and judgment. But one committee member is different, the process God. This voice doesn't overrule those others on my committee, but it whispers a possible new response different from my past and my personality types. It gently invites me at each moment or occasion to respond in a new way. But will I listen? So when I meet that nurse today, process God nudges me. What if you set aside your old scripts? What if you recognize this nurse as your equal partner in healing? Not by command, but process God is offering a more beautiful relational path. That this moment of tension, this shift, is holy ground. It's where I have a choice. Process God doesn't change who I am. It only expands who I could be. I remind you again that I'm on a journey about or with God. My age suggests a very long journey, but I don't want you to age while you're listening to me. So where does all this leave me in my decades of pondering? The death of God, if such a death occurred, wasn't the end of the sacred. I let go of this bearded God of my childhood. I've struggled with Nietzsche's cultural observations. I continuously ponder Tillich's ground of being and imagine the process God as a committee member nudging me toward becoming a new Ben. I've found myself more and more drawn to a simple truth, the power of relations. Maybe trying to make out what God is has all along been the relations I have evolved into. I'm trying to listen to the other voices around me. This so-called sacred flows from my shared life with others, like this congregation, or when I walk on trails nearby or in distant lands. I'm taking it all in what we call nature. And maybe that's enough. I doubt this sacred resides in some metaphysical system, but in how we treat each other, how we create this meaning, how we respond to the moments life places before us, and how we treat this natural world. Thanks for listening.
Our mission and covenant call on us to serve. Our weekly offering is part of our spiritual practice, translating our beliefs into action. Through these gifts and ministries, the ministries they support, we extend our love into our local community and the wider world. We will now receive the offering. Thank you. We are blessed by your generosity. And now, if you will rise, body and spirit, and sing our closing song, I'll Fly Away.
Well, the benediction is "I'll fly away," but let's try this. May we live with courage to question boldly and listen deeply. May we honor the wisdom of our past and respond to the call of becoming. May we build lives not on certainty, but on compassion, creativity, and care. The old God may be gone, but one's human capacity to co-create beauty remains. Let us be attentive. Let us be kind. Let us begin again. Amen. So join me in extinguishing the chalice. We all know what we say. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until in our lives, until we are together again. Let's join our circle and have our closing song that we know so well.
parents.